Joining me now is someone known on Twitter as the notorious TDB, Tina Desiree Berg, International Woman of Mystery. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
Absolutely. I'm good, Ben. How are you?
I'm doing great. You're the host of 34th Pod, and sometimes you're with over there with Jordan Sheridan
Yeah.
and the crew over at Status Quo. We've been trying to connect on your story because you have exclusive footage. There's just a lot going on. I don't want to set it up incorrectly. Tell us what's the very first thing that you feel like we should discuss in context of the Proud Boys, the January 6th insurrection, and everything else that you have been keeping a laser-like focus on.
Well, I think we start with what happened last Saturday only because it's the inevitable outcome of the buildup of what we've seen coming through and coming down the pike for the last several months. And we can trace all of this back, honestly, through the Trump campaign. So
What happened last Saturday?
So last Saturday was when we had what they're calling it a freedom rally. It's an anti-vaxxer rally, anti-mask rally, but it also has enveloped other aspects of right-wing thought. So you have the recall Gavin Newsom folks that are coming there to speak. You have everything that they've coalesced around over the last 4 years as far as what they consider to be freedoms. But I think they've become increasingly radicalized. So what we saw Saturday was a group of Proud Boys. There was Benjamin Patino, Adam Kiefer. They're both Proud Boys. And then also we had Tony Moon, who was at the Capitol on January 6th, part of the insurrection. They were all there together, and they quite literally went on the attack. I got hit a couple of times. Two people got stabbed, one on the counter protester side. Also an anti-vaxxer was stabbed. I didn't film that.
This is a photo. Bring that photo back up. And for the listening audience, it is a photo of Tina, you being attacked by this man that we're looking at. And this guy's name is who?
His name is Tony Moon, and he goes by the name Roof Korean on Twitter and social media. And for folks that don't know if you don't know what that a reference is, I think it's really important to discuss because it's incredibly racist. This is a guy who identifies with during the Rodney King beating and the trial and the riots we had after the cops got off scot-free. The Roof Koreans were the guys that took justice into their own hands and got on the roofs of the buildings in South Central, and they were shooting black folks. So it's a very racially charged and motivated term to be using. And I've also noticed in the last few days, he's been following up that with a little kind of tag that's Roof Korean 7 and Company. So this is now his group that he's got going. And you'll see in some of the video that they all had orange armbands around their arms, or they were holding the orange hydro flasks, which is what they were using as weapons. And I'm not sure what the significance of that orange is, but I think it's important to remember back on January 6th during the Capitol insurrection, the Proud Boys were also using the color orange to identify themselves that day. They had orange gaffer tape that they placed around their arms or on their helmets, or they had orange beanies. So I don't know if there is a tie-in or if it's just coincidence, but I did.
I would offer that they're trying to signify that they are aligned. Well, and just the Orange Revolution from Ukraine, back in was it 2004, 2005? Yeah. That's the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of orange. But we'd have to dig into that a little bit more.
That's an interesting point. Yeah. You know what? I am going to dig into that. That had not occurred to me, and I think it's an interesting point you're making, because I've been wondering why orange.
Why orange, right? And because I followed that revolution as it was happening back in the day. I want to dig into though the cops that were there, because as we look at this B-roll, you've got to. And again, David, pull up that picture, because here's a picture of this guy's name is Tony Moon, you said?
Yeah.
And this is you getting assaulted as you cover it as an independent journalist.
Yeah.
But this happened in front of the police. Yeah. Let's take a look at that clip.
This happened in front of the headquarters. The LAPD headquarters are right there.
David, run the clip.
Hey, yo, stop it!
Unmask them! Unmask them!
Fuck you!
Unmask them! Unmask them!
Unmask them.
I got a good FU in there, though, I have to say.
You did. You had a little oomph behind it. It was like, if you want the smoke, we can get the smoke today. But it's funny how they're saying unmask them, and it's become almost a patriotic rallying cry, because if you're wearing a mask, COVID-19, then you're trying to hide something, and you're a part of this cabal of international globalists who are trying to take over the world by inserting a chip into the vaccine. But I digress. Tell us about the cops that sat there and watched you get assaulted.
Yeah, so we had been there for about 45 minutes already. I had arrived with my cameraman. So luckily he got B-roll, which was turned out to be B-roll. Normally it's the A-roll, but because the phone footage went viral on Twitter, it's become the B-roll. But it's important to realize that they had been parked in their cruisers, like 6 or 7 cruisers, 2 cops in each cruiser, standing there where we were with 2 other press members for a good 45 minutes. I had been waiting for more people to show up. I wanted to go talk to one of the gubernatorial candidates. Her name is Sarah Stevens, who was speaking that day because she had been involved with an assault in front of WeSpa about 3 weeks earlier, in which one of her friends basically hit another press member on the back of the head with a lead pipe, and then jumped into her car, and she drove off. And inside the car, they because they're not the brightest tools in the shed. They actually posted this footage on social media, and I was able to grab it before they deleted it. But they posted footage from inside the car, and you hear them talking about what they had just done. One guy says it felt so good to crack him over the head.
Tina, I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm looking at this melee that the people in the audience are looking at, and the listening audience, they can't see it. But this is a melee of aggrieved white men who look like they drive souped up pickup trucks.
Yeah.
And they all wear those same Chris Moneymaker shades. If anybody remembers Chris Moneymaker, they're all wearing the same shades, but they are assaulting people, and the cops are not stopping them.
No, they're not stopping it. So anyway, but Sarah Stevens, I digress a little bit. Sarah Stevens' husband is also San Diego Police Department. I'm not sure if he's retired now or is currently, but so, I mean, there's definitely a crossover and a bias that exists, and the LAPD has very much shown their bias on the skirmish line time and time again. I mean, it's bad enough that we have, folks getting shot and killed by the LAPD for no reason, folks getting beaten up, arrested innocently. But I've actually filmed, in the last year and a half, multiple occasions where right-wingers have done things that are even more egregious than anything I've ever seen BLM or Antifa done. And they don't get arrested. They don't get stopped. They don't get questioned after the fact. They just get away with it. And I think every time that has happened, these guys have become more emboldened because they realize that there's absolutely no legal consequences for what they're doing. And then if you go to some of the LAPD's private social media accounts, these officers that are involved, you begin to see that they're very much pro-Trump, that they're very much anti-BLM, that they're very much anti-Antifa, that they hate the press. So they're very open about what these biases are, and nothing gets done about it. Nothing.
I'm just looking at this. We can't, as Black people in this country, we cannot gather peacefully without getting arrested. We're watching a complete and total melee that is fueled by right-wing propaganda, aligned with January 6th, supported by Make America Great Again. And they love Donald Trump all the way up to the point where he told them to get the vaccine. And this is what the police, because if you look at the positioning of the police, they're protecting, and there's one part where it looks like they're protecting Tony Moon, the man that assaulted you.
100%. Yes. In fact, we should talk about that. Thomas Morales. He says he's a journalist, and actually he works now for Fox 11 here locally. I don't know if that's in a capacity as an independent or an employee. I'm not sure, but he has been working with them. He goes in and he grabs Tony Moon and pulls him back to the other side behind the police line. The police are all facing us, and not. Notice they're all facing us. None of them are turning around and looking at what's the guys that are the ones that started at the assaulters behind us. And some guy literally got stabbed in front of me. You can see it in the video if you slow it down and look. It looks like he's getting beaten up. He's actually being stabbed with a shank.
Oh my God. Wow.
So,
and still nothing done by the police.
Nothing. I mean, nothing. If anything, they're protecting these guys. And so there's
Tony
two
Moon right there.
Yeah, Tony Moon right there. And there's 2 police officers that I've seen time and time again. I'm going to name them and shame them at this point. I talked about them a little bit on Democracy Now!, and I'd like to talk about them here because something needs to change. So Captain Stabile and Gordon Helper, he's a sergeant. They were both present. They're always there. They're always around. And you go to their social medias and you see a lot of pro-Trump stuff, a lot of anti-Antifa crazy, nutty posts. And in fact, Sergeant Helper had the audacity. He had stolen a photojournalist's photo he had put it on his social media with some ridiculous caption. The photojournalist actually filed a DMCA to have it taken down, and Gordon Helper turned around and published this guy's DMCA takedown with his private information clear on it, including his email address.
Wow. And this is done by, so it's funny, we're talking about the legislation that is being passed. I forgot exactly which state, but it'll come to me in a moment, that is providing protections for police officers. And actually, no, it's not on the state level. It's on the federal level. Josh Hawley, his amendment that will protect police officers from being doxxed. And here the police officers are doxing victims. Wow.
That's right. That's right. And the crazy part is yes, this is against the LAPD protocol, but that doesn't mean they do anything about it. That's the problem. These guys are in charge. It's a captain and a sergeant. They are in charge. And Stabile in particular, I'm very angry with, because he's the one that was responsible for telling Berlinda Nebo after she was assaulted, which is an absolute hate crime as far as I'm concerned, that she could make a citizen's arrest. And they only do that if they think there's no probable cause. Well, here is video evidence. Here is clear probable cause. She was assaulted. She was bear maced. She had her weave ripped off. And one of them had the disgusting audacity to scream, "This is the first scalping of the new Civil War." That is a hate crime.
Okay.
Straight up.
Let's break this down. Berlinda Nebo. Today is the first time I have heard about our sister. We have a picture on the screen now. And she is being bear hugged by this white man after she has had her weave pulled off. I don't necessarily care how or why this happened, but I'm just curious, how the hell did these men find occasion to find one of our black sisters by herself and to try some shit like that? And do we have video?
We do have video. I have the whole thing, which I'll send to you. And I also filmed the entire conversation with Stabile afterwards, where she was trying to file an assault. And I'm saying it's a hate crime. It should be prosecuted as a hate crime. She was walking down the street. She wasn't part of anything. She actually lives in the neighborhood. She was walking down the street, and a mob of these radicalized MAGA nuts just attacked her. One of them, Cassandra Ferragamo, punched her. Another one bear maced her. And can I tell you, Ben, this wasn't the only assault that day. There was another black individual that had been walking down the street, and he had what looked to be an entire giant fire extinguisher full of bear mace unleashed on him. He came running towards me across the street, just absolutely dripping in bear mace. And I was like, holy shit, this is insane. And the cops did nothing about that either. I mean, he was screaming in pain, obviously. Screaming in pain, and some medics came over that were there with the counter protesters and gave him aid. But
this is Berlinda now trying to explain. It looks like she's trying to explain. Who is this? She's explaining the situation.
That is Stabile. That is Captain Stabile.
And whereas you actually have footage of a crime that took place against a black woman, he's telling her to make a citizen's arrest.
That's right. And I interjected and said, "Yo, why are you telling her to make a citizen's arrest? This is a clear crime. You only do that if you think there's no crime. There's no probable cause. I'm showing you there's more than probable cause."
And he looks so bothered. He's like, "Oh my God, nothing happened to you."
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, go arrest them. They're across the street. I repeatedly tried to tell the officers that day who was over there, because Base Spartan was over there. Like a lot of the normal Proud Boys and instigators that I've seen, they travel around. They're in Huntington Beach. They're in San Diego. They're up in Portland. They're in Sacramento. These guys literally travel around and cause mayhem wherever they go. They're very violent. They're very hateful. I mean, people that want to defend this stuff need to like get really clear on these folks and what they're doing.
Yeah.
Now, is it like a giant, huge 1,000-person thing that this is going on with? No, but it only takes 5 or 6 individuals to do some serious damage.
And I need you to, because contextualize it for the nation. They said that this is the first scalping of the next Civil War.
New Civil War.
New Civil War. Let's listen to whatever audio we have with that with those associated clips, David.
BLM, I'll smash your f***ing weave off!
One likes minors!
That's my job!
Y'all got started.
I did that!
You're in trouble now, motherfucker.
I did that!
You guys are on the wrong side of the street, I think,
Yeah,
man.
I did the first scalping of the new Civil War.
You're on the wrong side of the street.
And they'll cheer. Yeah.
Nah, we're good.
That's right! F*** yes,
Antifa! Fuck Antifa! Fuck Antifa!
I want to say this, Tina, and I want you to get the last word because, well, hang on. Yeah, let's see this part right here.
You see that? Okay, he over there. Let's go.
Like I said, we're getting
Because I'm not gonna get assaulted for no reason, right?
I understand.
I understand, but they're over there. Let's go get them first.
But right now, I'm not going to break all my squad to do that.
Understood.
We do have a captain who's in charge of this.
Where's he at?
He's talking to.
Okay, so he's the one who told you to come so we can identify him. And then that.
So listen, this is what I'm going to do.
Look, she pepper sprayed me. The girl right there.
Listen to
That's
me.
the one with the fan. Who pepper sprayed me?
So we're going to start looking at that guy with 45. If I
And this girl right there.
Oh, there's a woman that I witnessed her too.
we spot him right now, we're going to make a citizen's arrest. So I'm going to have someone get a citizen's arrest form. You're going to sign it. You'll be the arresting person. So we're going to get a citizen's arrest form.
Yeah.
And then we'll spot him and we'll detain him and we'll make the citizen's arrest.
What's this guy's name?
Thank you.
Captain Stabile.
Captain
Which is why you
Stabile.
hear me coming at the end, like going, yeah, because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was like, okay, I need to not be a journalist right now and be a pissed off person. This is bullshit, dude. Like, are you kidding me right now? You're the arresting individual. Like,
Where is this guy with the beard? Where that's holding this black woman against her
I have
will?
no idea.
Where
he's
is
somebody,
this pig?
I know, right? Yeah. I don't know where he is lately. I have not seen him since then. But I did contact the district attorney's office and was told by a deputy DA that the LAPD, they weren't doing anything because the LAPD had not brought them a case. And I'm like, you're kidding me, right?
It's because they were waiting on a citizen's arrest. Funny how it works.
I mean, this is insane though. I mean, think about how completely insane this is. Now, meanwhile, I think this is really important information. Meanwhile, I go and I cover BLM protests, and the cops time and time again are unbelievably violent against the BLM activists, right? I have video of them shooting 40 millimeter rubber bullets right in their faces. I have video of one night a LAPD cruiser actually, there were two BLM activists standing in front of the cruiser with their fists in the air, and they'd been standing there for about 30 seconds. All of a sudden, this guy took his foot off the brake and put it on the gas. So they ended up jumping on top of the hood of the car to not get run over, and one of them flew off on the side because he sped up.
Can you clarify something for me real quick for the audience sake? Because I hear you saying it. Would you say that without question, the LAPD is on the same side as these monsters who are directly connected to January 6th?
Yes. I mean, I don't know how else you can derive another opinion on this, because Ben, it's time and time again. It's not one or two situations where we've seen this, right? It's time and time and time again, time again. And if you compare the footage of the way they handle the BLM activists with the way they handle these right wingers, I mean, like, it's so obvious. It's so disturbing. It's so disturbing.
What of the person, the people who are on, who is that guy being assaulted right there? Who is that? We don't even know who that is, do we?
No. Which video is this?
This is the video of the melee from last Saturday, I believe. The Proud Boys instigating assault. Yeah,
I don't know who all those counter protesters are at all. No, I don't know. And Tina, interestingly, Ben, earlier before this happened, a group of kids have been skateboarding up and down the street.
Right.
So the melee actually started with Benjamin Patino, who is a Proud Boy, running over and harassing one of the skateboard kids. This kid must have been like 14, 15 years old. And then somebody from Black Bloc was like, that's not acceptable, and ran over and chased him back to the other side of the street. And within 15 seconds, a whole group of them came over, all pumped and ready to go.
I want to leave. I want to leave the audience with this, and then Tina, I want you to leave the audience with whatever you want to leave them with, because there's a lot of miles to cover, a lot of connections to make, so that people can very clearly see the direct line between the Republican ideology, Donald Trump, America in general, the military-industrial complex. But we'll get back to that. But see the direct connection between that Make America Great Again, Proud Boy faction, and the bigotry and the hatred that Black people suffer in this country on a regular basis. I want to leave the audience with this, and then I give you the floor, Tina. Noon in Georgia, about 3 or 4 years ago, Nazis came marching to our city. and I went down to cover it, and it was a melee like this. It was wild, just like this. There were fights breaking out everywhere. I'm in the midst of it, trying to get the best coverage I could. And let me tell you, the only people who were there to protect us, it wasn't the police.
Right.
The police were on the other side, protecting the Nazis. It was Antifa and Black Bloc.
That's right.
So much so that the pictures that I have that I won't ever share publicly are of Antifa, who was out there saving our lives, being hogtied and carried through the streets by the police because they fought against Nazis.
Yeah.
But I digress. Tina.
No, I can concur with that. I was bear maced by a Proud Boy a couple of weeks ago, and it was an Antifa medic that came to my rescue, got me out of the melee, gave me first aid. And I didn't have, for whatever stupid reason, I didn't have my goggles on that day, so it had gotten into my eyes and what have you. And you're right, time and time again, Antifa gets a very bad rap in this country, and I have no problem saying this publicly because I've seen it happen like you're talking about right now. Exactly what you're talking about right now. The cops, the media, like everybody wants to make Antifa the sort of
boogeyman
of everything, right? Is like Antifa under your bed. Like they see Antifa even when there's no Antifa there, right?
Right.
But you're right. Many of these folks are, and I've interviewed some of them. You know, a lot of them are attorneys. One of them's a tech guy. I mean, they are all normal citizens with normal jobs, you know, quote unquote. But they are fighting against racism. They're fighting against fascism, and they believe that is really one of the biggest threats that the country faces. And I'm going to agree with them. And part and parcel to that is the way the police behave. I have seen these guys, you know, protect, you know, at a lot of the BLM rallies we've had here in Los Angeles. Black Bloc will come out and they will provide security for BLM because, you know, they think it's their part of their obligation as far as their belief system against fighting fascism, right? So, hang on one second. So yeah, I agree with you. You know, there's been a few instances where obviously Black Bloc has hit journalists. I'm not okay with that, but those are rare exceptions to the rule. And I think most.
Thank you for saying that, because we don't agree with everything that happens. But let me tell you, when it's going down and Proud Boys are in town, you better hope somebody from Antifa is nearby.
Oh, I agree. Like I feel much safer around Black Bloc folks than I do anybody from the Proud Boys. And of course, so now they view me and they call me Antifa paparazzi or whatever else, right? And I'm like,
you're international woman of mystery. That's what you are.
I'm like, get it right, exactly.
Tina,
but I mean, it's sort of how it is, right?
Tell everyone how to get up with you and how they can support your work. Thank you so much. And also to we're going to follow up on the story with Sister Berlinda Nebo, because that's not going to fly. But that said, tell everyone how they can get up with you and support your work.
Okay, so my Twitter my name is Tina Desiree Berg. Everything pretty much lands on there. My podcast about local California politics is District 34. And then you can see a lot of the bigger national coverage that I do for Status Quo on the Status Quo website.
Tina, we got to get you back. Please, let's do this again, because I think these 100%. Connections are so important.
Yeah, I do too. I do too, and I think we need to keep track of some of these LAPD officers, and also, you know, I know we are out of time, but I've identified a couple of them that are absolutely Proud Boys in the sheriff's department.
Oh,
so,
well, we could definitely name and shame them. Let's do a special episode of name and shame police officers who are complicit with white supremacy in this country. I'll be glad to support them.
I'm down for that.
Awesome. Take care.